Okay, so pre-popped, I have two guests with me, Michelle and Becca.
Hello.
Hello.
Yay.
And let's see, we just saw Sex and the City 2, which we saw Sex and the City, the first
One,
movie,
yes.
together, all
Yes.
three of us. Yeah. Okay. So, ladies, what do you think?
Having not seen the series and only the one movie, I still was able to see each character, and each character still was true to themselves from what I learned from the first movie. So
That was Michelle.
that was pretty cool.
Okay, what'd you think, Becca?
I was thoroughly entertained.
Very cool. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah,
I didn't like it as much as the first, but I liked it a lot more
No.
than I thought I would.
Yeah. Did either of y'all read any of the reviews before we went to the movie?
Never did.
I heard
No.
that they were bad, but I never actually read any.
I heard that they were bad too. I read one. I read Ebert's review, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but I think
Oh.
out of 5.
Well,
Yeah.
Is he the best? I don't think that the target audience is old
No,
men.
he's not. Yeah, you're right. He's not. He's just my gold standard. But I also heard about, and this is like third hand because it was Patrick who heard about a woman's review in another podcast.
Yeah.
So, from the gist of it, and this is not a good quote, but the gist of it is that she said, one line was that this movie takes everything that I love about the story and pummels it with a designer chimmy shoe that costs more than my car.
Oh.
I'm gonna look it up before I write my review and make sure that I quote that right. But
I
I
wouldn't
was-
even agree with that. That doesn't
See,
make much sense.
I agree. I mean, it's not the best movie,
No.
and I don't
true.
think it's the best ending that they could have had. I think the best possible ending they could have had was the first movie.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was pretty good. I mean,
I'll-
it was. Go ahead.
I like the fact that it actually addressed marriage way more than expect that, and I forgot that so many of them, was it 3/4 of them are married, and they all had their own things, and it was just like, oh yeah, okay, I guess they are married, and it was cool that they addressed that, and being married, it's kind of like, oh, okay, that's interesting, I wonder if that'll ever happen, and this and that, so.
Mhm. No, I agree with you. I think that I don't know about. We're all newly married.
Yes.
We're coming up to our first anniversaries. Michelle's is gonna be well, shut up, you've been married 6 months, but
That's closer than some other people. So.
yeah. Michelle's coming up to her first later next month.
Yeah, within a month.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Patrick and I are gonna have ours in October, and then Becca and Matt are gonna have theirs in January. So
Round in the
we're
corner
all
in January.
yeah, exactly. So the idea of you have to think differently when you're married,
Right.
So true.
I totally identify with that. I mean, I never expected to get married. I lived a crazy life before I did.
I can see how that's a different shift.
Yeah. And so now that I'm married, I really do find myself going, wow, that's an inappropriate thought.
Yes.
Or, okay, I should not flirt as much as I used to, and I feel gross because I just did.
Exactly, it's a different attitude, and I'm
Right.
actually identify most with who's the one who's like the giant eyes with the 2 kids. I can't remember.
Oh,
her name.
Charlotte.
I mostly identified with her because
You
she's
would.
kind of like spacey a little bit, out of it, and then at the same time her worries and stuff. You know, I don't plan on ever having a nanny for kids, but I'm definitely the one who's like kids and babies. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to hear all the worries about having kids and the stress of being a mom, and I was like, whoa, I guess that's gonna eventually, maybe not to that degree, but I can see that being something. So that was interesting how they even talked about stuff that I might eventually worry about. I don't know.
Yeah. Becca, what'd you think?
About anything?
Yeah,
Married.
anything in the movie.
I wasn't really thinking. I was just in it to be entertained.
Don't forget the horror part, all the fashion.
Yeah,
Oh.
it wasn't as big on the fashion this movie.
You know what? I agree. I
mean,
agree.
a lot of it, I know a lot of it's supposed to be haute couture, and therefore I'm not necessarily gonna get it all. But this was like they tried to take the 80s and make it fashionable, and I'm sorry, nothing about the 80s was fashionable.
Maybe it was a callback to when they were like, look at us when we were
And
young.
what was up with that dress that she wore in the middle of the little spice market that first time around?
You mean
Oh, with the purple skirt and the black
I-
t-shirt?
I feel like that's something I would have worn porn coming out of the Gap when I was in the 90s. Like,
Or even
seriously?
like you're in the middle of getting dressed and you're like, oh, I'm throwing on a t-shirt, and then I had this gorgeous gown or
Yeah.
bottom on.
Yeah,
Who's
that
the
was
starlet that
horrible.
she wore a amazing skirt and then put a white Gap t-shirt with it
I
to go to
don't
the
know.
Oscars?
I
There
don't
was a
know.
starlet who did this. I want to
Well,
shoot, I
would've
can't
made
remember
fun
the
of
name.
her, too.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking it was a play off of.
Maybe it was.
Except it was a black t-shirt, but I could be totally wrong about that. But I didn't like it either.
I kind
No.
of hid a couple times because there were like giant shoulder pads with spikes, and I was like, oh
You know what
God.
that reminded me of? The giant red dress with the
Yeah.
silver spikes on it.
Yeah.
That reminded me of a tour version of Madonna's 80s.
Yeah.
Maybe they were calling back to that. Maybe. on
Maybe,
purpose.
I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but the only dress that I really liked in that was the very last one that
She wore the white one.
Carrie wore.
Yeah.
The white one, the green
Simple.
one.
Yes.
The green one.
Yes.
It looked like jersey to me, and I've been really kind of digging that, where I want to like make a dress out of a bolt of jersey fabric or something, and that
That'd be
really,
pretty cool.
yeah, I really liked it. But I did like the white one too.
Yes.
I liked Miranda's outfit the first time they went to the souk.
Yes.
That was
That was pretty.
Yeah, it was almost like a Miami Vice but cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There were some times where I thought it was overdone. Go ahead.
I liked the white dress Samantha wore on her date because it was classy and not trashy, which I know she's supposed to be trashy.
Yeah, she is. She is.
And boy, did she deliver on some of her lines.
But I really
Yeah.
liked that dress.
That dress was really pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that too. I thought that was good.
So we had scary fashion. There was the funny lines, of course. They did
Yeah.
have a bunch of those lines where you're just like, bah! Some of them are like, tee hee, I'm glad there are no kids in the audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously not a family film, so just
No,
not that you'd ever think it is, but
I
just
really-
in case.
I really
Yeah.
think they put more gratuitous sex scenes in there just for the men who unfortunately got dragged along with their girlfriends.
You
Like,
know,
what was up with that?
I
I know that they did it in
Well,
the
the
show,
fir- in the
and
first
I know they did it
one,
in the first one.
There was things that I was like, oh, I
But
didn't
this
think I was
was-
going to see that. And
this
they didn't
was
actually
even more in their face
show it.
than
they
the
didn't show very much of Miranda.
No.
They showed more naked men than they showed more of
and more of their
naked women.
bottoms.
Yes.
So I remember in the
I
first
don't
movie
know.
they showed more of the other
well,
parts.
and all the belly dancers. And can I tell you how many scenes I counted with hard nipples that were absolutely
Oh,
ridiculous?
yeah.
And
But-
the wet t-shirt scene.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. It wasn't as outlandish of sex as I expected, because
Yeah,
I had
right.
heard that there was some gratuitous sex where it was like hardcore porn. That's what I heard it was compared
That
to.
was softcore.
Ooh.
Yeah,
No,
see,
I mean,
I
that
think
literally
that.
was the definition of softcore porn.
Really?
Yeah.
So I don't know what to think. I'm gonna have to think about that one. But
Yeah.
The sex I can see just because that's what they've done, but just the crotch shots and the butt shots and the boob shots, those were just too. I mean, there was no point to those other than for guys to go, "Huh, I guess there's a reason I came here," or for the girls to.
I could see that being a draw. It's like, okay, we got the guys dragged here because of girlfriends. Now at least let's make them happy.
But
to
we
be
were
there.
just talking about that. Wasn't there more nudity of men than there was of women?
That's true. So
I
are
think
they?
it was-
But they made a bigger point. I mean, there.
What I think
I
it
would
actually
say, I'd
is.
say it balances out, but.
Okay. I see what you're talking about. What I think it is, and what I think it's been through the whole series of the show and the first movie, is that it's okay for a women's specific movie to have something that is well more than what a woman usually wants to see on
That's
film.
true.
Right.
Normally you don't see that as much in chick
And I'm
flicks.
being completely hypocritical in that I'm not saying anything against. Well, I'm not saying anything against it at all. But I just find it bizarre, not so much the crotch shots as the boob shots, because why would I want to see that as a woman going to see this movie?
See, that's part of like the outrageousness of the show and the outrageousness of Samantha herself. I mean, and she
That's
wasn't
great.
even all. She
Very
wasn't even the
true.
one who was. It was every shot was of her chest when it was
Right.
like inappropriate.
Right.
But it's the characters are caricatures
Yeah,
Right.
that's
of
true.
personalities.
Right.
So I think that the sex in its own way is. I'm not saying it's like a fifth character,
Right.
but I do think it's a caricature of.
That makes sense.
Fancy.
Okay, so we have last 10 seconds left.
Okay,
What'd you think?
entertaining.
Okay.
And entertaining. I won't say see it again for that price.
No.
I thought it was interesting. And good night.
Good night.
Bye,